If you think getting lost in a mall is the worst thing that can happen to you, think again. Hi, welcome back. I hope today's been kind to you, and if it hasn't, maybe this will help you disappear for a little while, but not too far. Because tonight we're walking into somewhere familiar, safe, bright, loud, commercial, and absolutely wrong. We spend so much of our lives inside malls, don't we? Browsing, waiting, wandering, shopping for things we don't need under lights that never flicker, following maps that always lead somewhere predictable. But what if behind that perfect layout, behind every mirrored fitting room, Mannequin smile and Escalator hum, there's something else? Something watching, something waiting, something we gave permission to by walking through automatic doors and leaving pieces of ourselves behind. The 8 stories you're about to hear are true in the way that matters most. They've happened before. Maybe to you, maybe to someone you passed in the food court. So settle in, watch the corners, count the mannequins, and if the mall directory shows a story you don't remember, don't go looking. Let's begin. Story 1. The door behind the staff lockers. You ever work a job so boring, so normal that your brain starts looking for something, anything to break the pattern? I did. It was retail in a department store buried at the back end of a dying mall. I stocked men's shirts mostly, folded them, refolded them, watched them get unfolded and then folded again. Exciting stuff. But sometimes you catch a shadow where there shouldn't be one. Or hear a door close when you know you're the only one in the break room. And if you're like me, you ignore it until it stops letting you. There was a hallway behind the staff lockers. No one ever mentioned it. No signage, no cameras, not even a doorknob. Just a flat gray door flush with the wall. You wouldn't notice it unless you were really looking. But one night I was grabbing my coat and heard something. A knock. One soft knock. From the other side. I turned and stared at the wall. It didn't happen again, but the silence that followed felt heavier, like the air itself was watching. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me, right? The next week I worked a closing shift. Everyone left early. I stayed behind to finish the weekly markdowns. When I went to grab my bag from the locker, the gray door was open. Just a crack. Enough to see that it wasn't drywall behind it. It was black. Not shadow black, but that weird kind of black that eats the light around it. I should have walked away. But like I said, boredom does something to the brain. I stepped closer. The air got colder. The lights above me buzzed, and then the door creaked wider. Now, before I go on, I need you to ask yourself something. If you saw a door where there shouldn't be one, a place that no map, no manager, no memory ever mentioned, would you walk through it? Would curiosity be louder than fear? Because for me, that night, it was. The inside of the room wasn't a room at all. It was an aisle, like one from our store, but older, darker. The shelves were made of wood, not metal. The signs were hand-painted. Some of the products look familiar. Some look like props from a store 50 years gone. And the weirdest part, there were no lights, but I could still see. Dimly sure, but clearly. Like the shadows themselves wanted me to look. I walked forward. The shelves creaked under invisible weight. A low hum vibrated through the floor. I picked up a box of shoe polish. The brand didn't exist anymore. It had my name on it. Full name. First, middle, last. In my handwriting. I dropped it. Took a shaky breath. And that's when I heard the whisper. It came from the next aisle over. Soft. Like breath over cold glass. It said, "Don't leave yet." Not angry. Not urgent. Just matter of fact. I didn't want to listen. I turned around. But the hallway was gone. Behind me was just more aisle, more shelf, more of that humming air. I started walking, not running, just fast enough to feel like I was choosing the direction. The shelves started changing. They weren't products anymore. They were photographs, ones I'd never taken. Me at work, me at home, me asleep, and behind me in every photo, something. A shape. Humanish. Always blurry. Always closer. I reached the end of the aisle, and there it was, the gray door, just standing in the middle of nothing. No wall, no frame, just the door. Closed. I grabbed the edge. Pulled. It didn't budge. I heard another whisper. Closer. "We remembered you." My skin turned ice cold. The air pressed in. I don't remember how I got out. I just remember blinking, standing back in the locker room. The gray door sealed shut again. No gap, no handle, nothing. I grabbed my things and left. Didn't clock out, didn't speak to anyone the next day. I just kept my head down, tried to pretend it didn't happen. But here's the thing. Every time I pass the lockers now, I hear the knock again. Once. Just once. I told a coworker once, half joking. He went pale. Said he'd heard it too. Said he tried opening it once. Never talked about it again. He quit last month. Now, I write this not to scare you. Not really. But to warn you. Sometimes the parts of a mall we're not meant to notice, they notice us instead. And if you ever find a door where no door should be, and it opens by itself, don't go looking for what's behind it. Because maybe what's behind it is already looking for you. Some doors don't need keys, they only need your attention. And once they know you're listening, they open again and again. But what if what's waiting behind the counter isn't a door, but a name? One that doesn't belong to anyone living. Let's move on. Story 2. They keep asking for the employee who doesn't exist. If you've ever worked customer service, then you already know some questions stick with you. Not because they're strange, but because they keep coming back. The same wording, the same tone, sometimes even the same people. And eventually you stop thinking it's a coincidence. You start thinking it's something else. It started on a Tuesday. A man in a gray jacket walked up to the counter and asked, "Is Nora working today?" I told him no one by that name worked here. He gave me this odd look, not surprised, not angry, just quiet. Then he said, "That's strange. She helped me yesterday," and then he walked away. That's all. No drama, just a weird interaction. But the next day it happened again. Different person. Same question. "Is Nora in today?" This time it was a teenage girl. Said she had an appointment. I checked our roster, even pulled up archived employees. No Nora. Never had one. The girl just nodded and said, "She said to meet her here," then left. By the end of the week, I'd heard the name Nora 5 times. Different people, different days. Always polite, always calm. One of them even described her. Brown hair, shoulder length, soft voice. Wore a red vest, even though none of our uniforms were red. Every time I asked my coworkers, they looked confused. Swore they'd never heard the name. Now, let me ask you this. If a name kept popping up in your store, someone your system says doesn't exist, but customers are certain she helped them, would you brush it off? Or would you start wondering who or what is actually helping them? The mall was quiet one evening. I stayed late to do closing reports. Everyone had gone home. I passed by the perfume counter on my way out. That's when I saw her, just a glimpse. In the mirror, a woman in a red vest standing behind me. I turned. No one was there. I didn't tell anyone the next day. What would I even say? But the requests kept coming. Someone claimed Nora helped them choose a necklace. Another said Nora opened a back room for her. But we don't even have a back room in that section. That part of the store is all glass. Then came the man with the receipt. He said he wanted to exchange a bracelet Nora sold him. The receipt was printed perfectly, except it didn't match our format. The store number was wrong. The date field just said pending. His signature line was blank, but at the bottom of the receipt it read, "Processed by Nora, 4th floor." We don't have a 4th floor. I started checking footage, night shifts, early mornings, looking for anything, and I found her. On camera, kind of. One night at 2:17 a.m., the feed from camera 12 glitched. For 10 seconds, you can see a figure moving behind the counter, wearing red. The face is blurred, but the timestamp flashes 4F17 instead of 2007. It only happens once, just once, but it was enough. I brought it to my manager. She stared at it, then calmly said, "That area shouldn't record after midnight," and she deleted the clip, just like that. After that, the customer stopped asking for Nora, but her name kept showing up, slipped into printed schedules, scribbled in margins of restock lists. One day I found a name tag on the break room table. Red, faded, scratched, but still readable. Nora. Here's what gets me. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even confusion. It was this slow creeping acceptance. Like she'd always been here. Like the mall had made space for her. Just not in our version of it. The last time I heard her name was during inventory. A new hire kid from college was scanning items near the candle display. I passed by, heard him mumbling to himself. Thought nothing of it. Then I caught the words Nora said, "to put these here." I froze. Asked him what he meant. He looked embarrassed. Said a woman with a red vest had helped him. Showed him the layout. I nodded. Told him to go take his break. He did. I walked back to the candles, just me and the shelves, but one candle was already lit, flickering gently. No scent, no heat, just light. So listen, if you ever find yourself in a mall and someone helps you out of nowhere, kind voice, red vest, no name tag, thank her. But don't follow her if she walks away. Don't ask for her by name. And whatever you do, don't go looking for a 4th floor. Because Nora helps people. That's what she does. But she never helps them leave. Sometimes it's not about who you see. It's about who sees you. And when the same person walks past twice without blinking, you have to ask, are you the one being watched or the one being repeated? Let's find out. Story 3. The man who walks past the window. Twice. I want you to imagine something with me for a second. You're working the night shift at a mall. It's past closing. You're inside one of those storefronts with giant floor-to-ceiling display windows. Outside, the main corridor is empty, dead quiet. But then you see someone walk by. It happens once. Nothing strange. Just a man in a dark coat, maybe late 30s, normal stride. You glance at him for a second, then go back to whatever you were doing. And then 30 seconds later, he walks by again. Same coat, same pace, same direction. But he shouldn't be there. Because you didn't hear a door, you didn't see him loop back. And now you're stuck with this thought. Was it the same man or was it the same moment repeating? That was me last October. I worked stock rotation at a shoe store. Most of the time I didn't even see the window. But this night I was cleaning near the front. That's when I saw him. Dark coat, hands in his pockets, head down, just passing. Then again. Same, no difference, like someone pressed rewind on the air. I stepped outside the store, looked around, empty. Every shop was closed, all gates down, no sounds. But when I looked down the corridor to my left, I saw him again, already mid-stride. I stepped back inside. You ever feel like you're being tested? Like reality is poking you, seeing what you'll do next? I told myself it was nothing. Went back to work. But I kept glancing at the glass. Nothing for a few minutes. Then again. The man walked past. Same path. Same speed. Only this time he turned his head slightly toward the window. Toward me. I couldn't see his face. The angle was wrong. But I felt it. That awareness. like he was looking through the glass and into something deeper than just my eyes. The repetition continued. Every few minutes, always the same loop. I checked the security feed, but it glitched every time he passed. Frame skip, static, no record, so I did something stupid. I waited, stood right at the window. When I saw him approaching, I raised my hand. Just a little wave. He didn't wave back, but he stopped. Right outside the window, staring, no expression, just stillness, too long to be casual. And then he moved again, kept walking, no break in rhythm, like nothing had happened. Here's where it gets worse. The next day, my coworker came in. I asked if she'd ever noticed anything weird late at night. She paused, then said, "You mean the guy who walks past the window more than once?" I felt the bottom drop out of me. She told me she'd seen him for weeks. Thought it was a cleaning guy or maybe mall security, but no one ever acknowledged him. And when she asked about him, the cameras never showed anything. That night I watched again, but now I was hyper aware. I started noticing other things. Every time he walked past, the lights above the corridor flickered, just once, just as he passed beneath. Also, the store lights would dim for half a second. Then I made my second mistake. I followed him. When he walked by the next time, I waited a beat, then slipped out of the store and followed at a distance. He didn't turn around. He didn't change pace, but I swear the mall hallway stretched. Like there were more tiles between us than should have existed. I passed 4 closed stores, then 5, then 8. It didn't make sense. The layout was wrong. I turned around, couldn't see where I came from. When I turned back, he was gone. Just gone. In his place, standing still in the center of the hallway, was a window. A full storefront display window. But it was freestanding. No store behind it, just the glass. And in that glass was me. But not me now. It was me staring scared, hands at my sides, same clothes, same expression, watching someone walk past the window from the inside, a man in a dark coat. I blinked, and the glass was gone. Corridor normal, stores in place, the lights buzzing like always. I walked back. I didn't look behind me. Since then, every time I work late, I see him. But now he walks past different windows. Windows with no stores behind them. Windows where I don't remember there ever being glass. And sometimes he stops. Not for long, but enough. Enough to make me feel like I'm the one repeating now. Like I'm the shadow someone else is watching. So here's my advice. If you work in a mall, or you visit late, and you see a man pass a window more than once, don't wave. Don't follow. And for the love of whatever you believe in, don't look for your own reflection. Because one day the man might stop, and you might find out you're the one behind the glass. Some paths lead down, others lead away. But the ones that look like escalators, they move in only one direction. And where they go, the floor plan doesn't follow. Ready for the next descent. Story 4, the escalator. That goes down but doesn't come back up. You ever notice how escalators feel different depending on direction? Going up feels safe, almost mechanical, predictable. But going down, especially when the mall is quiet, there's a weird sinking feeling. Like gravity's helping something pull you deeper. I used to think it was just in my head, until I found the one escalator that never brought anyone back. This happened at Midtown Plaza. If you've lived near it, you probably know it. Big circular layout, lots of levels, confusing parking. I was working mall maintenance part-time, mostly signage repair and escalator inspections. Nothing glamorous. I check belts, lights, and control panels. One morning, we got a report that the escalator at the far end of Wing D was still running after hours. Management thought it was just a timer glitch. I went to take a look. It was quiet. That end of the mall had been under renovation. No open stores, just covered windows and echo. But the escalator was running, going down. The weird part, the upper landing was dusty, no footprints, like no one had stepped on it in days. But the steps were spotless, moving smooth, humming steady. I checked the controls. Everything looked normal, but the data panel was empty, like it didn't belong to the mall's network. Now, before I go on, let me ask you this. If you found a working escalator in a closed wing of a dead mall, no power routed to it, no wiring connected, but still moving like it had somewhere to go, would you ride it? I did. I stepped on without thinking, and I regretted it by step 5. The ride was too long, much too long, longer than any vertical distance inside the mall. The lights above dimmed quickly. Soon there were none, just soft motion and a low mechanical hum, the kind that doesn't echo, just sinks into your spine. After what felt like a full minute, I stepped off. I wasn't in the basement, at least not the one I knew. This floor was cold concrete, smooth, no debris, no signage. The walls were clean, almost too clean, like they had never aged. I walked forward. The escalator behind me kept moving. No landing, no stairs up, just the belt disappearing into the wall. Ahead was a corridor, not dark but gray, softly lit without a source. I walked. My footsteps didn't echo. I called out once. My voice came back to me half a second late in a tone that wasn't mine. Then I heard movement, slow, steady, coming from another corridor that crossed mine. I pressed against the wall, waited. A figure passed, not walking, gliding. It wore a mall uniform, old style like from the 90s. The badge read, "Welcome." No name, no face, just smooth, pale skin. It passed without turning. I stayed still, my breathing too loud. Then I saw another figure, this one pushing a cart, but the cart was empty. They stopped at a wall, placed their hand flat against it, and a doorway opened. No hinges, just space pulling inward. They stepped through. The door disappeared. I backed away, turned to run, but the corridor behind me had changed. It sloped down. No walls, just a path and flickering floor lights. I followed it not out of courage, but because there was no choice. The floor beneath felt soft now, like carpet over bones. Then I saw it, an atrium, huge, silent. In the center was a kiosk, but not like anything I'd seen. It had no products, just screens, dozens of them, all showing faces. Mine, from different angles, different times. Me eating lunch, me watching TV, me sleeping. And in the middle, standing silently, was someone who looked exactly like me. Same height, same uniform, but he didn't move. He just watched the screens. I stepped forward. He turned slowly, smiled. It wasn't forced, it wasn't friendly, it was final. He raised a hand, waved once, and then the screen shut off. The lights blinked. I blinked with them. I was standing at the top of the escalator again, in Wing D, sunlight pouring through the skylight, my phone buzzing with texts. I stumbled back to the maintenance office, tried to explain. They laughed, said I must have fallen asleep. But I checked the system logs. No escalator had been powered in Wing D for 12 years. The floor plan showed nothing below that level. No basement, no sub-level, nothing. Since then, I've avoided that wing, but others haven't. A janitor went missing 2 weeks after. Last seen sweeping near that same escalator. A kid wandered off during a renovation tour. Never found. Security footage glitched both times. Now, I'm telling you this for one reason. If you ever find yourself alone in a mall and an escalator is running where no escalator should, don't get on, no matter how harmless it looks. because some places are still running even when the building isn't. And some escalators don't bring you down, they take you away. What you see is never all there is. A shelf, a tag, a price. Sometimes the transaction happens long before you swipe your card, and the cost is already calculated. Let's keep going. Story 5. The sale. That wasn't on any register. Let me ask you something simple. Have you ever seen a discount so strange it made you stop? Really stop. Like time itself. Paused around you, a sign so off that your brain took an extra beat to catch up. Most of the time you'd laugh it off, think it's a typo or some clerk's mistake, but what if it wasn't? What if the sale wasn't for you to understand? What if you were the product and didn't know it yet? I was working at a home decor store inside the Westgate Mall, the kind of place that sells scented candles, rustic wall clocks, fake flowers, throw pillows with inspirational quotes. You know the type. Every month we did markdowns using color tags. Red for clearance, yellow for manager specials, blue for seasonal promos, and we always followed the system to the letter. Until the morning I walked in and found a shelf full of small ceramic figures I'd never seen before. They were vaguely human-shaped but distorted. One was laughing, one was crying. One had no face at all, and each had a green sticker on the side. Not red, not yellow, not blue-green. And the price, $1. Not $1.99, not some clever 50% off, just a flat number 1. I tried scanning one, my handheld froze, restarted itself. When I scanned again, it just said, "No item found." I asked the manager about it. He looked confused. Said we hadn't received any shipment that matched, told me to take them to the back, but when I turned around, the shelf was empty. Not cleared out, just gone. I asked a coworker if she saw what happened. She stared at me like I was making it up, said there was no shelf there. I started doubting myself until the next day when I started finding green tags in random places on my clipboard, on storage bins, one even stuck to the bottom of my shoe. And every time I tried scanning them, the system failed again. Then came the woman, middle-aged, quiet, walked directly to the back corner of the store and stood there, not browsing, not looking, just standing, smiling faintly. When I approached, she asked if the sale was still valid. I said we had no green tag sale. She pointed to an empty shelf and said it was right here yesterday. She said she saw the tag said the figures were $1 each. I blinked, told her nothing like that existed in our promos. She nodded. Once didn't argue, just left. I started to feel like something was unraveling, like there were two versions of the store, and I was slipping between them without knowing. Later that week, I stayed past closing to finish stock checks. Music off, lights dimmed. The store was supposed to be empty, but as I walked past aisle 5, I saw them again. The same ceramic figures neatly placed on the floor in perfect rows. No shelf, just resting directly on the tile, each with a green tag, each marked with the number 1. I knelt down and picked one up. It was warm. The texture felt like skin, not ceramic. The face on it had changed. Now it looked afraid, eyes wide, mouth open. I dropped it and backed away. Then I heard the beep, that electronic chirp of a scanner, but I was alone. The front register lit up. The screen blinked green. It displayed 3 words, "Purchase complete." Then it showed my name and finally one word in all caps, "Accepted." The figures were gone, the floor clean, the shelf never existed. I checked the camera logs, but the feed had cut out for 7 minutes, exactly the amount of time I'd been back there. The manager didn't believe me, said maybe I dreamed it, maybe I was stressed. But when I tried to clock in the next day, my name was gone from the system, my schedule cleared my time card, history deleted. I wasn't even in the employee portal anymore, like I'd never worked there at all. I asked the assistant manager and she just stared. Said maybe I was confusing our store with another location. I left without arguing. sat in my car and opened my wallet. Inside was a green sticker with the number 1. No $sign, just the number. I never returned, not to work anyway, but I did walk past the store a few weeks later just to see. And through the window, I saw her, the woman who had asked about the sale, standing in the same corner holding one of the figures. She didn't look at me, but the figure she held did, and it had my face. Since then, I've come to a conclusion. Some sales aren't advertised, they're offered. Some don't take place at the register, they take place inside you. And if you ever see a deal that feels wrong, too perfect, too quiet, think twice before you reach for it, because some things aren't meant to be bought, and some prices don't take money, they take you. Not everything that stands still is lifeless. Some things only need your gaze to start moving. And when mannequins remember you, it's already too late to forget them. Let's step into something colder. Story 6. The mannequin that moved between shifts. If you've ever worked retail, you know mannequins are just part of the landscape, silent, stiff, unblinking, always dressed better than you, and never tired. But one thing we all know deep down, even if we don't say it out loud, is that we don't like being alone with them for too long, and we definitely don't like when they aren't where we left them. I used to work at a mid-range fashion store tucked between 2 anchor chains inside the downtown mall. It had bright lights, too much pastel, and a dress code that required smiling. One of my jobs during closing was to redress the front mannequins. If a new promotion rolled out, we usually had 6 in total, 3 on each side of the entry, and we logged their outfits and exact placement in the manager's nightly reports. That's how specific it was. One Thursday evening, I was closing with a new girl named Bree. She asked me casually, "Hey, do we ever use the 7th mannequin?" I laughed, thought she was joking, told her we only had 6. She looked confused and said, "But I saw one in the back hallway, just standing there." I brushed it off. Figured someone moved one and forgot to tell me I'd seen staff park props all over. But when I checked later, there was no mannequin back there, just an empty hallway and a faint smell of hairspray. The next day during opening, my manager asked me why I had moved one of the display mannequins overnight. I said I hadn't. She showed me a photo from the security feed. It clearly showed one mannequin on the wrong side of the entrance. Not just shifted, but rotated slightly inward, like it was looking into the store. That might not sound like much, but we don't move them without logging it. And the cameras didn't catch anyone touching it, just one frame where it was in one place, and the next frame where it wasn't. That night I stayed late, alone, inventory backlog. I passed by the display on my way out and stopped. One mannequin was turned just a few inches more than usual, the head slightly tilted, and for a moment I thought it was just the light, or maybe I was tired, but then I swore the lips looked parted. I checked the report. All 6 logged no change, no 7th figure. But the next morning, Bree came in early, pale shaking. She told me she had passed the store window from the outside and saw someone standing between the mannequins. Someone who wasn't there a second later, someone too still to be human and too wrong to be plastic. We asked security to let us review the feed, but their logs were missing, just static between midnight and 3 a.m. No footage, no data like the cameras had blinked. Over the next week, we started to find things out of place. Shoes, reversed scarves, knotted backward, tiny changes that no one claimed, and always on the same mannequin front. Right? The one that never had a name. Though now Bree started calling her Violet. I asked her why. She said she didn't know, it just felt right, or maybe that's what she wanted us to call her. One night I stayed until close and decided to test something. I placed a lipstick mark on the right cheek of the front right mannequin using my own tube. Subtle, just a dot. The next morning, it was gone, completely cleaned. But I found that same lipstick smudged on the inside of the break room door, and no one had been in there overnight. Things escalated slowly. Bree started reporting whispers when locking up something like breathing near her ear lights would flicker only when facing the mannequins, and once I caught my own reflection in the glass and saw 7 silhouettes instead of 6. Then came the day the front gate refused to open. It jammed halfway, and the maintenance guy swore someone was standing inside when he arrived. But when he came back with a crowbar, the store was empty. And the 7th mannequin stood directly in the center of the store, not dressed, just bare, featureless, facing the back wall. We took it to storage, locked it in the supply closet, but the next day it was standing by the dressing rooms, arms posed like they were mid-motion fingers, slightly curled. At this point, we stopped talking about it directly, like saying its name or acknowledging it made it stronger. The store started getting colder. Literally, our thermostat would reset itself to 60 degrees every morning. The perfume wall shattered one night without any sign of break-in, and a written note appeared under the counter, scrawled in blue pen. It read, "She only moves when you look away." We stopped staying late. We stopped redressing the right side display. We filed a request to transfer out of that location. Bree got approved. I didn't. I quit the day I came in early and found my uniform already laid out on the back table, pressed, folded, and warm. Before I left, I took one last look at the mannequins. They were all still, but one of them had shoes I'd never seen my size, and a necklace I'd lost 2 weeks earlier. I turned off the lights and didn't say goodbye. So if you work late in retail and the mannequins start facing a little too inward, or you count 6 and then blink and count 7, trust your instincts. Because some things were never meant to be dressed up. Some figures don't want to advertise clothes. They want to be seen, and once they know you've seen them, they might not stay still for long. Some places appear only when you stop trying to find them. A wing that wasn't there. A store that shouldn't exist. But once you've seen it, the mall remembers that you did. Let's look at the map together. Story 7. The map with a store that wasn't there yesterday. Malls are supposed to be familiar, no matter the size, no matter the layout. There's a comfort in knowing where the food court is, which wing leads to the electronics, where you parked your car. Even if you forget, there's always a map. Those big glossy panels with the "You are here" sticker in red. But what if the map showed you something that didn't exist yesterday? And worse, what if today you were the only one who could see it? I worked in a kiosk near the center atrium, sold scented oils, bath bombs, all natural stuff. We didn't pull a lot of traffic, but I liked it that way. Slow shifts, quiet music, I had time to observe. And that's what got me into trouble. One afternoon, a customer asked me where Wing H was. I blinked, told her there was no Wing H, just A through G, but she pointed at the map across the walkway and said she saw it listed. I followed her, and she was right. The mall directory had changed. Between Wing F and G was a clean new label. Wing H, pale gray, with one store, listed just a blank white rectangle. No brand, no number, but the space was there. When I checked my phone, the digital mall map didn't list it. When I asked the security guard, he looked confused and said, "There's no such thing as Wing H." I figured it was a glitch bad update, maybe until the next day when I looked again and Wing H was still there. But this time, the white rectangle had a name, The Mirror Place. No description. No logo, just the name. And when I blinked, I thought I saw a soft glow pulsing from the space on the map, like backlight from behind glass. I asked my manager. She laughed, said I was probably tired. I tried letting it go until a boy, maybe 8 or 9, came running by the next morning. He stopped at the map, stared, and whispered, "She said I could come back today." I asked who he didn't answer, just pointed to Wing H, then ran toward the corridor that should have ended at Wing G. I followed, not running, just pacing, trying to stay within sight, but as I turned the corner, there was something new. A small archway with no sign, no branding, just an open space that curved left, like it led somewhere. But I knew this wing. I worked here for years. That wall used to be a service panel. Now it was a hallway. Cool air drifted out from within, the kind of air that smells like air conditioning, but older, colder, like it came from a place that was sealed for too long. I stepped inside just 1 foot, just to feel the tile, and the music from the mall behind me stopped. No fade out, just a cut like someone unplugged the building. I stepped back, the sound returned. I stood there for minutes, testing the threshold in and out, silent, then loud, then silent again. I returned to the map, but Wing H was gone, just a smudge where the name had been, like a fingerprint had wiped the ink away. I didn't speak about it to anyone for days until a woman asked me directly, "Excuse me, is the mirror place still open?" Her voice was gentle, too careful, like she already knew the answer and just wanted to confirm something. I asked where she saw that name. She didn't blink, just said I used to work there. I stared, asked what they sold. She replied, "Not things," and walked away. No bags, no phone, no footsteps as she disappeared into the crowd. I began dreaming about that hallway, even though I only stood in it for seconds. In the dreams, I was walking endlessly, each turn opening to more mirrors, not glass, but reflections on walls, smooth as still water, and every reflection was of me. Except they moved wrong, too slow or too fast, too early or too late. One smiled when I didn't. One reached toward me. When I turned away, one stood completely still while I kept walking. I woke up shaking, sweating, hearing my name spoken in a tone I didn't recognize. That morning, I went to the map again. Wing H was back, and this time the mirror place had hours listed 10 hours to 10 hours, no AM or PM, just numbers. I walked to the corridor. It was there again, lit from within. I stepped inside just 3 steps and turned back. The mall was gone. Not empty, not abandoned, just absent, like the architecture had changed while I wasn't looking. I heard faint music, old warped, like it was playing through water. I kept walking. The walls slowly turned reflective, and soon it wasn't a hallway. It was a loop, a ring of reflection, every surface showing a version of me, but only one followed exactly. The others lagged, predicted, delayed. I tried walking backward. Only one reflection matched me. I pressed my hand to that surface and it pushed back. Now, I'm here again in my kiosk at least. That's what it looks like, but people don't respond to me. My voice echoes wrong. The bath bombs smell like nothing, and when I check the map, Wing H is always visible only to me. And in the reflection on the display glass, I always see one more version of myself, standing slightly behind, just out of sync, just enough to notice. Some mirrors don't reflect. They remember. And some curtains once pulled don't close the same way again. What happens when you step into a stall that knows your name and wants to wear it? Let's finish where things come undone. Story 8. The changing room that didn't return. What you left behind. There's something strange about mall-fitting rooms. Maybe it's the mirrors, maybe it's the lighting, or maybe it's that brief moment when you're halfway into someone else's clothes, halfway out of your own, and for a second you don't know who you are anymore. I used to work at a mid-tier clothing store, the kind with loud pop music and constant folding. My job was to reset the changing rooms between customers, grab the rejects, put them back in rotation. Nothing complicated, nothing special. Until one night when I noticed we had an extra room. Our fitting area had 6 stalls, always 6 numbered clearly, but that night while cleaning after closing I saw a curtain half drawn at the end of the row. No number, just there. I asked my coworker if someone was still trying stuff on. She said all stalls were empty. She'd already checked. I walked to the curtain, called out, no response. I pulled it open slowly. It was empty, but the light was on, dimmer than the others. The mirror looked off too reflective, like it was made of water, not glass. I reached forward, then stopped. I felt air coming from the mirror. Not cold, not warm, just moving. Like breath. I stepped out, shook it off. But before I left, I noticed something on the bench. A bracelet. Simple silver. I picked it up. It had a name engraved inside, mine the next day. I asked the manager if we had ever used more than 6 stalls. She frowned. Said no. Said the extra stall was sealed off years ago. Bad wiring. We never reopened it. But I saw it again that afternoon. Same curtain. Same dim light. I pulled it back. It was empty, but the bracelet was gone. In its place was a scarf. One. I'd lost months ago. I took it. It smelled like my old bedroom. Not current, not recent, but the scent of a place I'd forgotten. I asked around. No one else could see the 7th stall when I pointed it out. They saw a blank wall. One day I decided to test it. I placed a sweater on the bench. One we didn't sell. One I brought from home, faded navy, frayed collar, my name stitched inside. I left it there, closed the curtain, waited 5 minutes. When I opened it again, the sweater was gone. In its place was a dress. One I remembered from childhood photos. Yellow with little sunflowers, but I never owned it. Not really, my cousin did, and she died 10 years ago. I started visiting the stall more often. Not every day, but often enough. I'd leave things inside, a photo, a note. Once even an old ring from someone I didn't want to remember each time something else came back. Not random, not junk, always personal, always specific things I hadn't seen in years, things I never expected to see again. Then the mirror changed. It didn't show me anymore, it showed a version of me, similar, same face, but she blinked. Slower, moved, later, held different posture, like she was learning how to be me. I stopped going after that. Weeks passed, nothing happened, until customers started complaining. One said she saw a second employee in the mirror with her. One said she turned around and saw herself leaving while still standing in the stall. I laughed it off nervously. Then one night I stayed late alone, folding clearance tops when I heard a curtain slide open. Slow, deliberate. I stepped around the corner. All 6 stalls were empty, but the 7th one was wide open. The light on inside was a mannequin. Not ours. Not plastic, more like paper. Shaped like me, same height, same hair, but the face was blank except the lips. They were smudged with my lipstick. I ran. I locked the stall, taped it shut. Told the manager there was a pest issue. Maintenance came, didn't find anything. Said there was no 7th stall. Said they only saw a wall, but I knew better. I quit the next week, walked out, didn't take my last paycheck, didn't say goodbye, but I visited once more just to see, stood near the back of the store and stared at the fitting room hallway. It looked normal, but then a customer walked in, asked to try on a jacket. I told her to take any stall. She smiled, walked toward the 6th, then paused, turned, and stepped into the 7th. Like it was always there, like it was hers. She didn't come out, not in 10 minutes, not in 30, not at all. When I finally looked, the stall was empty, but the mirror had a fingerprint on it, mine, and on the bench was the scarf I'd given away. Weeks ago, folded fresh, warm. So here's my warning. If you ever find yourself in a mall, fitting room, and there's a curtain you didn't see before, don't open it. Don't step in. And if you do, don't leave anything behind, because something might take it as permission, and next time you look in the mirror, the reflection might still be you, but the person walking out might not be. So maybe next time you step into a mall, you'll hesitate. Just a little. Maybe you'll glance twice at the reflection in the fitting room mirror, count the steps on the escalator, avoid the kiosk that seems too quiet, too empty, too aware. Because now you know. Some malls sell more than merchandise. Some sell comfort, memory, identity. and some don't let you leave with what you came in with. 8 stories, 8 reminders that behind the ordinary is always the veil. And sometimes it's thinner than you think. Until next time, take care of yourself and don't trust anything that smiles without blinking.